spooky nerds, and welcome to Talking Strange, a paranormal pop culture show with the Den of Geek Network. And live from the Den of Geek studios in New York City, I am your host, Aaron Sagers, journalist, author, researcher of all things weird, and currently you can catch me on Paranormal Caught on Camera on the Travel Channel and Discovery Plus. Now, you guys know that I'm doing this thing. I am a super nerd for the paranormal and for all things. And occasionally with my job, I get to talk to legends, to icons. And today we are talking to the incredible talent behind the show Radio Rental. Now, Radio Rental, you guys should know about it. I've talked about it before. It's an anthology series and podcast that explores bizarre real-life stories from horror to crime to the paranormal. They're told first person, and these true stories are set inside Radio Rental, which is an 80s-style video rental store, a location that's very close to my nerdy heart. And this imaginative cult classic-inspired horror brand blurs the lines of reality with cutting-edge documentary storytelling. And I'm quite excited to say that a new season of Radio Rental begins this October 2022. Now, let me bring some of the folks behind Radio Rental in as guests. First up, this gentleman is a director, an award-winning documentary filmmaker. He's an Atlanta area native, and he founded Tenderfoot TV in 2016. He co-created and hosts the company's flagship show, Up and Vanished, which you guys should know about it. It spawned Tenderfoot's first television series by the same name. And he also went on to host the acclaimed Atlanta Monster and is also the producer behind Radio Rental. And that gentleman, of course, is Mr. Payne Lindsey. Payne, thank you for joining us.
Hey, Aaron. How you doing?
I'm doing great. And, I'm trying to keep it together. I talk to a lot of people, a lot of amazing people in this job, but my next guest is an icon. He's America's most beloved late night AM radio talk show personality of course, Dark Air, of which I'm a massive fan of. He's a philosopher of the paranormal. He's open to all possibilities. And he also happens to run Radio Rental with his cat, Malachi, Mr. Terry Carnation. Terry, welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Aaron.
You look good, Terry.
Thank you, Payne.
Terry, are you currently in the back room of Radio Rental right now, or are you in an undisclosed location? Where are you right now?
I'm always in an undisclosed location, but this is an undisclosed location in my house, Aaron. This is where I live, but I'm not going to tell you where that is because I don't trust you. I don't know you well enough.
No, it's a room and a house, and I think that's enough information.
That's
we don't
need
want
to know,
anybody.
Aaron. Yeah,
I'm in a room in a house.
A room and a house. Well, I don't want to make anything awkward, Terry. I do want to start with you with a question. I know that as someone that has listened to Dark Air throughout the years, it's inspired by it, shaped by it, really. I know there's been some conflict and scandal involving Dark Air and you in the past, and now you're running the Radio Rental store. Are things okay with you, Terry? Are you in a good spot right now?
I'm great. I am great, Aaron. Thank you for asking. I'm doing really, really well. All of the mental health challenges that I had in the past they're far in the rearview mirror right now. Trust me, I just want you to know. I want all the listeners to know. I think you can see it in my eyes if you're watching this live stream or watching me on the YouTubes. You can see that I'm doing fantastic. Really, everything is very balanced. I feel serene. I'm just doing fantastic. And yes, I mean, the timeline is a little wonky. Yeah, I have two jobs. I manage a a video rental store in an undisclosed location that has some mysterious tapes in it. I also host a late night AM radio talk show, Dark Air with Terry Carnation. I'm sure you knew that, and the listeners knew that. And somehow I manage it all, and I'm doing it with flying colors, Aaron. And speaking of flying colors, what about your background there, buddy, and your shirt? A lot of flying colors going on.
Yeah, it helps disarm people or distract them, so that way I can pounce with my journalistic questions. I'm like
very pretty
spry cat. Yes.
Terry, do you have a Bluetooth in your ear?
Yes, I do.
Doesn't that cause like brain damage or something? Radio waves or something?
It's damaged enough is all I can say after
okay.
37 years on the radio. So with those cans on my head. So, you pick your battles, Payne. You pick your battles.
That's true.
I mean, Payne, I know a little bit about these things, and the crystal around his neck does offer some protective measures. So, that's
Sure.
and I'm glad to hear that you're doing so well, Terry. I mean, I look into your eyes and I see just the paradigm of health. That's what I would say. And Payne, of course, as a producer, you have created so many successful shows and TV shows, Atlanta Monster, Up and Vanished, and Radio Rental. I am curious about this collaboration with the legend, Terry Carnation, Payne. Like, how did you connect as far as assembling this formula of not just having these tapes, these stories from real world people, but aligning with this man, with this legend?
Sure. I mean, most of my work in the past has been in the true crime genre, where I've been producing investigative stories, looking into a missing persons case or whatever it may be. And I wanted to make something that had a little bit lighter of a tone, being someone who grew up watching Unsolved Mysteries as a kid, The Twilight Zone, shopped at Blockbuster. It was my favorite time of the week, was Friday, going to Blockbuster. And I wanted to make something that was more lovable, more lighthearted, but still at the core of it, something that would really scare the hell out of you. And I thought, what better way to do that than find these really spooky stories from real people and throw it in this fictional world of Radio Rental. And then I found Terry Carnation, and he answered all of my prayers.
Not literally.
Well, you don't know that, but
I mean, I would say many listeners would disagree, Terry, that you have answered many prayers throughout the decades. And I mean, while you, Terry Carnation, are most certainly 100% unquestionably a real person, and in the vein of other icons such as Art Bell, you also, and I hope this is not offensive, you kind of evoke some of my favorite fictional paranormal and horror hosts, such as, the Elvira, the Cassandra Peterson out there, or Svengoolie. And again, not at all intended as an offensive question, because you are no doubt true and a real man. But is that a fair comparison?
I would view I think it is fair. It's an entirely fair comparison, and I would actually compare myself on a deeper level to the Crypt Keeper.
I can see it.
You see it. You can see it.
I can see it.
He's a hero of mine. We hang out sometimes, actually, and I'm like, CK, what gives? How do I do this? Give me your tips. And in between nibbles of flesh, he's given me a few pointers along the way, and just a big shout out to CK for that help. But anyone that can help bring a little levity, a little joy in translating some of these darker tales to a wider audience, I'm all in favor. And sign me up, and also pay me.
Terry, it's been a while since I've been to the radio rental shop to check on you. How has your love life been these days?
That's great. I've been using some of the new dating apps to try and meet people. It's a little desolate out there, you know. They closed off the parking garage because of the thing that happened.
Yeah,
with the leak and with the murder, and so that's been shut off, and so people don't really have access to the area. So traffic has gone way down. So I've got the newest dating app. Having a little bit of a problem with the settings on this particular dating app. I'm not finding many women; it's all men. And I was assured Grindr was the best place to find eligible women who might be interested in
right.
in a
That, yeah, we'll talk about that offline. That's the wrong app, I think.
I don't think so. I don't think so.
It is though.
It's people who want to grind, you know,
right?
Like 90s old school hip hop, like.
Yeah, but it's not. It's different.
See, I mean, I live close to Philadelphia, and I just thought it was an app for people that are aficionados of what you might call
sandwiches.
Sandwiches, yeah, hoagies.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all should Google that.
Right after the show.
Sorry,
I mean,
what's that? Goggles?
I'll stop by I'll mail you a letter or something.
Terry, I say keep at it. You know, you just gotta keep digging. You gotta go through, you know, a lot of it takes a while to find that diamond in the rough, you know.
Payne, tell us about the murders. Tell us about, are you podcasters? Are you fresh out of murder? Are there any more murders to cover? I mean, you're probably just going through the rubbish bin looking for, like, where's another serial killer? Oh, we've got to find some more murders to create a podcast about. How do you do that? How do you do that?
Yeah, I guess you could say that my business is reliant on murders. That sounds kind of messed up, right?
And you're killing it. That
was fun.
Well, Payne,
you're murder adjacent. Bring the pain. Bring the pain.
Well, they say if it bleeds, it leads, and I guess you know that does apply to podcasts too. But Payne, actually, with radio rental, how does one know if a tale is tape worthy? Because everybody thinks they have a story, but that story doesn't necessarily fill up, 15 minutes of a podcast, and it may not have a cohesive beginning, middle, end. I don't know. How do you know if a tale is radio rental worthy?
I mean, I would say that's the hardest part about producing the podcast, is that we are pretty much reliant on the first person narrator to take you through all the beats of the story. So we got to go in there and really conduct a thorough interview to do that in the first place. And sometimes it can still sound like shit, but sometimes it sounds amazing because it's totally real and they're recalling some horrific experience they had, and the emotion is there. And I think that's what is different about radio rental than some of the other scary story podcasts, is that you get to hear kind of firsthand what it felt like, and what it sounds like for someone to recall something that was some horrific event in their life. And most of them now can look back and laugh on it, but I think that little human element of it is what kind of separates it from some other podcasts out there.
Has there been a moment when, certainly there's times when you might interview someone or you might hear a story and think there's not a lot of there, but have there been times when through the course of producing their story, you actually uncover something else entirely wild, that the tale is even meatier than you expected?
Oh yeah, there's been several stories where I just wanted to go, like, I didn't have an answer by the end of their telling of it, but I wanted to stop everything I was doing and go figure out what the hell was going on. Like, who was this person, or what did that mean? But it's damn near impossible sometimes. They're just blips, moments that happened, and they're usually years ago, a decade ago, and there's not much to go off of. So part of the fun, I think, is just taking everything you hear and just kind of being part of the experience. It's not really meant to be dissected or investigated per se, but some things get your mind going, and I think those are the really good ones.
Mm-hmm.
Payne, what are some of your favorite stories? What are the stories that gave you the goose pimples?
The goose pimples.
Yes.
I would say
Goose flesh.
Laura of the Woods story. Laura of the Woods is the one that gave me the goose pimples.
From season 1.
Season 1, yes.
Yes.
That and Doppelganger. Because I mean, the Doppelganger one, if you haven't heard it, I mean, it's some glitch in the Matrix thing that happened where his girlfriend was someone else and then reappeared, and so you sound absolutely insane recalling that story, and it's kind of messed him up forever. Maybe one day there'll be some bizarre explanation for what that really was. Maybe it was some, mental health thing, but he's never had it ever again. So I think the ones that you just really can't explain that were frightening and people look at you like you're crazy, if it really happened to you, what are you going to say? It's like either you believe it or you don't. And that would be scary if that happened to me. So
the doppelganger topic is quite creepy, and I love talking about it. I love researching it, and oddly enough, I've actually been accused of apparently I have a celebrity doppelganger out there named Rainn Wilson. I don't know if you're familiar with him, but I haven't. Apparently you never see me and him in the same room together, so that's my doppelganger. It's quite odd, quite peculiar, but
strange name.
I haven't heard that guy.
Name. Hippie.
Spelled with 2 N's. I don't know. It's quite bizarre. What's the metric for legitimacy with these stories? Because do you have to have a finely tuned bullshit meter to say, okay, I think someone is just scripting something, or is that besides the point?
I think that, I mean,
and did you Payne, sorry to jump in, did you end up using the story about the man who lived for 1.5 years in the womb of an adult female Asian elephant? Did that end up being, what was your,
we
come down on that?
I appreciate you sending me that, but we're still working on it. They're editing it. I'll keep you posted.
Oh,
yeah.
So it has
it might be a while though. We're still kind of tweaking it.
I wasn't sure whether to believe it or not, but the Ziploc baggie with the viscous liquid in it was proven up for me.
That was weird.
I interrupted. Please continue.
I know. I think it sounds very valid, honestly, scientifically sound. So, Payne, I hope you do look into that. Not to tell you how to do your job, but I think you should look into that. But yeah, continue with that.
Yeah, back to the legitimacy of the stories. I think that there's a human level of, okay, if we found a story, let's say on the internet, Reddit or something, in some subreddit, and we reach out, finally make contact, there's a lot of bullshitting they have to continue with for a while. And to me, if you're bullshitting that far, all the way up to the point where we're talking and texting and we're flying and meeting you in wherever you live, then fuck it. Because that to me is almost weirder than you just telling the truth. And people embellish stuff sometimes, but I would say probably 80% of the stories that I've been a part of personally, every person has been, as they're recalling it, you can tell that it was some traumatic thing that happened to them. They're not trying to find the words. They're just like, oh yeah, this kind of messed me up. And like they still haven't figured it out or never forgot it. And you can tell when someone's being sincere, I think.
So you heard it here, folks. Radio rental listeners or people who want to be on the show, simply make up a cockamamie story, and as long as you stick with it all the way through. Yeah, you gotta really
tell me though. You need to hit every beat of that story, and if you don't, I'm canning that shit.
Just commit all the way.
Commit. Yeah.
Tenderfoot TV will show up at your house, and you will make you famous.
Yes, and it's not like it's not like there's a shortage of stories, folks. So they'll, if it's not good enough, there's the legitimate story of the guy who lived inside of a elephant. But
yeah,
but Terry, you through the 37 years, more than 3 decades on the air and now through the course of Radio Rental, do you think that these stories are getting weirder? Is the phenomena getting weirder? Or do you think that people may just simply be more willing to open up about the strange things that they are experiencing in their life?
That's an excellent question, Aaron. Let's take the new incidence of unidentified aerial phenomenon, aka UFOs. For years, for decades, for nay a century, the telling or retelling of those stories sentenced one to a kind of like a outrageous purgatory where you were a goofball and yes, and you were a tinfoil hat wearing kookamonga. And the fact is now with the recent revelations, we have dozens of Air Force pilots and generals and captains of industry and astronauts revealing the incredible number of aerial phenomenon. So we see that it has become much more accepted, and I do believe that stories of the mysterious, of the uncanny, are becoming much more deeply and more greatly embraced. And as a matter of fact, the more outrageous stories that you have, the more that people like you, and they stop thinking that you're just a big fat loser sitting in your basement without any hope for a future or any possibility of finding a mate after your wife has passed away.
That's oddly specific.
Well, it's not too specific because he has not disclosed which room of the house that he's in right
Right,
now. So we could be a basement. I don't know.
Terry, weren't you abducted by aliens at one point? Am I remember? Is that how it happened?
You put me on the spot, Payne.
Yeah, I did.
You put me on the spot a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, it's not something. It's something. Obviously, as a call-in radio host, I've spoken to many abductees. It's not something I've shared too much about, but I do wonder about the aliens' anal fixation. I don't understand the commonality and intensity of the anal probe. And
maybe they don't have buttholes. Like is it that simple? Like maybe aliens just don't have butts.
They're just fascinated by.
Why is there a hole down here?
Yeah, they're
why would you need that?
There's a number of websites that I've heard about. Analplay.com, Buttjoy,
what
Anal
are these
Explorations.
Again, what kind of sites are these?
Well, they're sites created by aliens featuring the human anus, which is used in all kinds of outrageous ways. And you can visit many of these sites.
Are you paying for these sites?
Well, some of them you have to in order to get entrance to the advanced. They'll allow you like the thumbnails, but you can't get to the full content unless. And then once you sign up for one, then you get the thing, and you've got to sign up for it.
Right.
So
yeah,
it's outrageously expensive. But for someone who's been through the trauma that I have with the alien abduction and the intensity of the probe on the human anus, I find it healing. I find it strangely healing and a little bit arousing. I'm not going to lie.
I think educational alien sites that you're talking about, do you ever get like a pop-up that says you have a virus or something?
I have, yes. And I keep going down to the clinic and I get tested. I don't have any viruses.
Okay.
So not even COVID. Clean, baby, clean.
I happen to think that this is material that definitely you should add to your dating app profile, especially, and that might help you match with the right person on Grindr. But Payne,
you think I could add anal intensity to my profile? Mm-hmm.
I think
anal fixation,
I would strongly advise it.
Previously probed,
This is all educational stuff.
seeking others who have been anally probed as well.
Right. Yeah, I would be
Casual-
careful on the verbiage, like just the wordage there. Like, I don't know if that's exactly how
Play,
I phrase it.
Casual probage, seeking casual probage. But Payne, as far as the other kinds of phenomena on radio rental, I've noticed, obviously, you have these true crime adjacent stories, or could very well turn into true crime. And then there's the ghosty stories. And it seems like, would you say there's an increase in more aliens or cryptids or other kinds of phenomena? And why do you think that is? If so,
the first collection of stories that I ever put out in radio rental, it was super curated batch of stories because I didn't want to just hit you over the head with some paranormal thing, because I've found that if you're someone who just doesn't believe in ghosts, that you just don't, or you don't believe in UFOs and aliens, then you're immediately checked out once you know that that's what kind of story this is. And so I would try to find stories that were a run-in with a serial killer, or things that just definitely factually happened, and kind of set them up to feel like it's some paranormal thing. Then it has this wow ending where it's like, holy shit, that's a real guy. That's a thing that happened. Now I'm hearing a news clip, and slowly kind of easing you into, how far can we push this? Can we tell a story about, some cryptid, and are you going to actually listen to it? So we like to kind of hit you with a little bit of everything, so you'd never really know what you're going to get. And I think the surprise factor is kind of worked for the series as we've moved along. But now I feel like we're at a point where, we dropped all kind of stories. So it's kind of, it's a grab bag of any of these things at this point.
have there been stories that seem like they go too far and you have to decide not to run them?
Too far as in, what do you mean?
Too extreme, too real?
Yeah, actually one comes to mind, and I ended up airing it anyways, but it was like it's totally bizarre. The short version is, this guy worked at like a crematory, and there was
Is that where they sell ice cream?
No, that's where they burn bodies, Terry.
My mistake.
They make them into ashes.
Continue.
But this guy thought he heard noises from this person who may still be alive, and he checked the heartbeat and it wasn't there. And then, a day went by, and the wife of the person was rushing to get the cremation done in a very kind of odd way. And it's like a roller coaster of all this stuff. But there was no heartbeat that he could tell, that he thought. It was just, he was in his head so much. And then he ordered the whole cremation. He followed through with it. And then this lady just never showed up to pick up the ashes. And I was like, oh shit, was he alive? Like, maybe not, but it just brought back all of these horrific kind of paranoid thoughts he had. And if you look at it that way, maybe it's true, maybe it's not. But that's probably one of the darker stories we've ever told. But
yeah,
he wanted to tell it, and it was cathartic for him to even talk about it. And he was also a radio rental fan. So I think for some people, it was the right scenario for us to air a story like that. But sometimes we'll cut it if it's just like, oh, this is too messed up, or this is too dark, too far. We like to keep it within bounds if we can.
I remember that story, and it was indeed dark, and yeah, I walked away thinking like, that guy wasn't dead, but
yeah, you're like, I don't know, yeah, maybe,
yeah. Terry, how about you? I mean, you asked Payne about his favorite story, but instead of your favorite story, has there been any that have gotten under your skin, even the skin of Terry Carnation, seasoned veteran of paranormal radio? Has there been a story that just was too disturbing for you?
So many stories, so many disturbing stories over the years. They all tend to blur, Aaron.
Terry, you do listen to the
Terry's
tape,
tough,
right?
though. Terry doesn't really. Honestly, Terry just pops in tapes and he puts his headphones back on. What have you been listening to recently on your iPod?
Norman Greenbaum, the one-hit wonder who wrote Spirit in the Sky.
Yeah, that's a big hit.
So I listen to that on a loop. Yes, I listen. Of course, I listen to all the stories, and there's so many. I mean, I like the one with the ghost and the stalker, and the one with the man who thinks that he's somewhere else, and I love all of that. The time travel. Wait, what show are we talking about?
Don't worry about it.
So yeah. I know you're involved in so many projects, Terry.
I like the one. I like the one where the kid goes back in time with the mad scientist in the fancy car, and there he meets his parents.
That's Back to the
Future. He's stuck in the 1950s, and he can't get out. How are they going to get out? I don't know. They only think they have a car, but they don't have the power for the car, so they've got to find the power somehow.
This is ridiculous.
It is the most disturbing part of that story, and I do remember that, is that nobody at any point questioned about why this young teenage boy was hanging out with clearly a senior citizen, and no supervision whatsoever.
They were lovers. They were lovers. I remember.
Doc is suspect.
I'm not starting that rumor. I'm not starting that rumor, but you can, Terry. Payne, when you came into this, did you have any kind of opinions or beliefs about the paranormal side of things, and how have those changed or evolved as you're interacting with these people and listening to these stories?
I mean, I think I've always believed in, that there's probably intelligent life somewhere. The universe is too big for there not to be. And, I think at least a decent portion of the UFO sightings are probably real. Not all of them, but a lot of them. When it comes to the paranormal stuff and ghosts, I've always had the mindset of like, okay, something's going on here. I don't know what it is. I think sometimes it can be explained, but sometimes it can't. But there was one story about this this legend in Hawaii called Night Marcher. I remember reading the email. It came in directly to us, and I was like, that's pretty freaky. And she's like, I attached pictures, and I was like, okay. And I opened it up, and I was like, holy shit. And we posted on the Instagram, but it's like the one paranormal picture, and it's a live photo that I've seen where I don't know what it is, and it's not.
Now I have photos of Night Marcher from, I think it was 1989. I saw them in concert.
That's not what we're talking about.
With Rat. You're not talking about Night. That's Night Ranger. Night Ranger.
Is that even a real band? I've never heard of that.
So yeah, well, I mean, I'm a fan of Sister Christian, but this was this was, I think, a slightly different thing in Hawaii. It was a runner.
Okay.
Yeah.
But that was you walked away thinking that was truly surreal.
Is that you, Terry? Okay. Is that what you've been listening to? That's a slap right there. Okay.
You don't know Night Ranger? Oh.
I'm sorry, Terry. That's I was born in 87. He said 89. I don't know. I was 2. So.
But I'd love to hear more about this Night Marcher. Is he from the other side? What's the mythology?
There's like a urban legend in this part of Hawaii on the island that there's these night marchers. I don't really know the lore behind their origin, but there's paintings and stuff of them. But if you go find the best sketch of one, it looks really close to what's in this picture. And I mean, I think for me and most of the listeners, they were convinced that this was definitely something, abnormal. But there's been a few people who've commented on there like, "Oh, that's just a guy." I'm like, do you hang out with people who look like this? Because this is, even if it was a person, I think that would actually be scarier, because this guy looks disheveled and muddy, and it terrifying, whether he's real or not. So
And it's more than just a legend in Hawaii. It's an active belief. Like it's very much ingrained in the native Hawaiians there, and it's this procession of spirits that can basically, if you run across them, they can take you to the underworld, sort of thing. But I'm most impressed, Terry, I'm impressed that I remember the Night Marcher lore and story, but also impressed that it appears that you are using a smartphone, which is a grand leap forward, I think, for your technological capabilities. I love seeing that. And and Terry, I mean, because you mentioned the UAPs and UFOs, and because you've been doing this for so long, do you think that we are reaching some tipping point where this is no longer, some of these stories are no longer in the realm of strange or unusual and paranormal, but instead more commonplace? Because certainly these are things that are now talked about by New York Times and mainstream media outlets. It's not just the realm of dark air.
That's right. More and more gradual acceptance. You know, as William Shakespeare said, there are more things in heaven and earth, Horatio, than are dreamt of in your philosophy. And I think that's what we're finding. There are
Aaron.
There are more things in heaven and earth that are dreamt of in your philosophy, Aaron. And that's really what it's all about. And yes, I think that the door is opening. The door is opening wide, and I think the portal to the world of the undead is also opening, and it's perhaps under my very house. And that's my theory, at least, for the noises.
Well,
but thank you for your wonderful question.
You know, as far as portals opening underneath your own house, that is concerning, but I am equally concerned about your relationship with your dear friend and occasional host of Radio Rental, Malachi the cat. Are you guys okay? Because it does seem sometimes like there's some tension. Maybe Malachi's trying to kill you. I don't know the whole backstory.
Yeah, it's interesting. I just recently, recently, like in the last 5 minutes, got a series of ideas about cremation for Malachi. He's not quite dead yet, almost. He's ancient. He's like 14. But I'm wondering about getting him cremated. So I'd love that contact information of who that's the gentleman early, who
Terry.
The gentleman who works at the ice cream place. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The Cold Stone Crematorium. Yeah. We can set that up off air.
All joking aside, seriously, ice cream made out of people's ashes. That's an interesting business idea. We should talk, Payne. We should maybe bring it to Shark Tank.
There's no way that's even legal. I mean, no one ever is going to want that.
Not with that attitude, Payne.
I mean,
thank you.
That's clearly.
Oh, you're going to take that. You're going to sprinkle the ashes in the ocean or off a cliff or in someone's backyard. Like,
yeah,
why not ingest them? I mean, it worked for Keith Richards. He snorted the ashes of his father. On a glass coffee table, for Christ's sake.
That's not real.
One of the greatest rock and roll guitarists of all time.
And fun fact, they used to believe during vampire panics that one of the ways that you would cure yourself of vampirism is to cut out the heart of the person suspected to be a vampire, boil it down and burn it, and then drink a soup made out of their ashes. So not so ridiculous when you think of it in those terms, Payne.
Fair. Whatever.
Isn't that pretty much what ramen is?
Yes, it is.
Cup of your uncle's noodles. I don't know. Before we let you guys go, I do have a question.
Speaking of my uncle's noodles on Grindr, I saw a picture. Sorry, go ahead, Aaron.
I don't want to hear it.
Yeah. I was very curious about where that one was going. We do have a question from the audience before I let you go. This comes to us from the Ghost Maidens, and they do ask, is there any update on the spectral wife situation, Terry? I probably should have screened this because it's a little bit sensitive to just drop this on you. But any update on the spectral wife situation?
Yes, she's doing fantastic. We continue our endless lovemaking sessions. She's exceptionally sensitive, but you can, as rough as you want to go, she's game. So we have a lot of fun. She's a great listener, and I'm really, really, truly lucky to be married to such a gorgeous. Well, I don't know if she's gorgeous. Such a luminous character.
Yeah.
I think in 2022 we could all learn to be accepting and embrace spectrophilia and marriage to spectrum. So I for one,
do you think Terry Carnation is immune to cancel culture? Is it possible? Is it even possible?
I think he's post-cancel culture.
I don't even know what that is. I don't know what that is.
Then you're good.
Yeah, I think you're fine.
Yeah.
And Payne, we have a new season of Radio Rental, season 5, in fact, I believe, right? October 2022.
That's correct.
Anything that you can tease coming up for the new season? Any special tapes that Terry will be playing that you are excited for the audience to hear?
There's a good mixed bag of stories this go around. I think we've kind of dialed in what we've seen people respond well to, and some people have their own niche favorites. So we tried to really kind of target the types of stories that we found people liked, and also kind of push the envelope again with just some bizarre shit that you haven't heard before, and keeping you guessing on where the story is going and what's happening next.
Love it. And
the name of this show, Aaron, is Talking Strange.
Yes, Terry.
Well named. This has been one of the strangest conversations I've ever been a part of.
Well, Terry, this is a segue that you kind of just brought up, because I'm going to let you guys go, but as a fan, all my childhood, little baby Aaron, same facial hair, always a fan of Dark Air with Terry Carnation. Can I implore upon you to get a Terry Carnation blessing for what I do on Talking Strange?
Hello, this is Terry Carnation, and I am the host of Dark Air with Terry Carnation, as well as the proprietor of Radio Rental, the video rental store that is also a podcast about mysterious shit. I highly endorse and recommend Talking Strange with Aaron Sagros. It's an excellent show, and I hope you'll tune in each and every week for the wonderful stars and personalities they bring in to talk strange. Thank you.
That was I'm blessed. I love it. And Payne, Lindsey, and Terry Carnation, thank you for joining. And I want to encourage everyone to listen to Radio Rental and to keep up with Terry Carnation across social media, to keep up with Payne Lindsey across social media, and to keep up with Radio Rental. And for everyone out there, thank you for joining. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, review, share with your fellow spooky nerds, and check out our Talking Strange videos at youtube.com at Den of Geek US. And give me a shout at Aaron Sagers on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Patreon, and at Talk Strange on Twitter. And until next time, be kind, stay spooky, and keep it weird.